Okay, so this is my midterm interview with my godmother, Patricia Katina. Alrighty, so the first question is, Father Jim talks about the 6 paths in his book, The Jesuit Guide to Almost Everything. The first path that he talks about is path of belief, which is when God has always been a part of your life, along with faith being an essential element to you. The next path is path of independence, which is separate from organized religion, but you believe in God, but the church is meaningless, offensive, or dull to you. Path of disbelief is atheistic or seeks proof for God's existence. Path of exploration is stepping into other religions and trying them out. Path of return is when you began in a religious family, you drifted away, but then you returned to the church. The last one is path of confusion. You haven't left the church, but you are confused about God. So which path do you think you were on my age when you were 21?
Independence. Definitely independence, yeah.
Can you think of some examples of why you think you were on that path?
Well, I never stopped believing in God, and I never really stopped believing in, the religion of Catholicism. But I certainly took a much more broader view of it and left the church for a long time when I was in college. So that's why I know, like when I was your age, really pretty much maybe that freshman year of college. So I would have been like 18. Then I didn't go back to church until I was probably 28. So I just totally, but I never lost my faith in God. And I guess I never had disbelief at all. I never really explored any other religions. I guess I was more, even then, probably some of that stage of confusion, but mostly independence at your age. Does that make sense? Is that enough?
Yes. No, that's good. Thank you.
Okay.
Which path do you think you are on today?
Return. As well as more recently, some confusion.
Can you tell me about that journey from going from path of belief to path of return or confusion, or path of independence, sorry?
Yeah. Well, I was in college and that was independence. And I mean, all this history already, but then when I got married, right out of college, and the person I married had no faith or no, formalized religion or anything like that, although he was baptized Catholic, and we ended up getting married in the Catholic Church. But at that time, they weren't real strict about that. His grandmother was a member of a parish and got us to have a priest, and we, got married. And so then we split up after 7 years after a horrible, do you even know the fire? Did I ever tell you about? Yeah. So after that horrible fire, we had split up because he was cheating, and so that point in my life, I just thought, okay, wait, God, you're telling me something here. And so then I struck out on my own. And about a year after that, or two, I just was in Chicago. And in Chicago, there's a Catholic church on every corner. And I started walking over to this Catholic church and going to Mass. And once I started going back to Mass, it was something missing in my life. And when I started going back to Mass, but it was a long time I went to Mass and never went back to the church. It wasn't really until I got the annulment, and because Uncle John and I didn't get married really in the church initially, because both of us had been previously married. So then we got annulments and then got married in the church when we moved down here. And then Justin was born. So,
oh, Justin.
yeah. So that you want things to be all in the right place there, so if that all makes sense. So it just going back to Mass every week kind of kept me on that path at that time.
Okay, so the next question is, friendships and love were an important part of St. Ignatius of Loyola's life. How have the friendships in your life been a blessing?
Well, when we moved here, when Justin started school, I have to say that's probably the biggest time I remember or not biggest, but the most significant time in terms of our friendships and religion, because he went to Catholic school, and then that particular class and that particular parents of those boys in that class they're very religious, people. And we had some programs at this church here in Pekin that allowed you to continue to grow your faith as an adult, like a watch retreat program. And Uncle John and I just got involved in that. But a lot of it was just, having those friendships helped me go deeper into my spiritual life, because we all kind of were coming from the same place. So in that way, I would say, and then I went to Catholic school. I mean, my good friend Anne has always been a blessing in my life, and we went to college together and church together and all of that. So I guess that's how they helped me.
The next question is, Sister Janice describes an important part of life is to surrender to the future that God has in store for you, even if it leads to suffering. Father Greg Boyle talks about the same thought process when he talks about his own diagnosis or leukemia. In what areas of your life have you had to surrender, and where did that surrender lead to you?
That's a hard one. To me, that was the toughest question, because I think surrendering to God is really hard. And and at times I feel like I'm doing that, and I feel really good, because I think, it says, what did it lead to? When I do that, it leads to a greater faith, a greater connection I feel with God. But it's very hard to let go of things, I think, that are bothering. I have to let go of worry. I worry about Justin and where his life is taking him. I worry, right now I'm worried about the whole country. And I just have to say, Lord, you're going to take care of this. And when I do that, like now, I was terribly anxious and worried about the country and the election process and all that. So I just said, I'm going to go back. I'm going to try to go to mass every day. So, and when I do that, then I feel closer to God. Several areas in your life. I mean, like grandma dying, all of that. We have things out of our control.
Decision making can be difficult, but is a necessary part of life. Some decisions seem big, like where do I want to live? Do I want to take this job? Do I want to meet this person? What process do you use when making decision, and where is God in that process?
Unfortunately, he doesn't come until later. I kind of make the decision, and then when I'm wondering, was this the right decision? I'm like, God, what do you think? Help me get through this decision I made. I probably need to work a little harder on that, but ideally, I think God is in the beginning of it, and I do that as I've gotten older, Brianna, a little bit more. I say, okay, God, what do you help me discern? But stopping and listening is another real hard part of just the whole, my spirituality for myself, as far as, okay, God, I'm going to ask you this question, and then I'm going to tell you the answer. Just stopping and going, wait a minute. Okay, what are you saying here? And then trying to discern that. So, I think he should be way up there. It helps.
Father Greg Boyle says that we ought to stand in awe in what people have to carry, not in judgment of it. Can you remember a time that you were able to do this?
We ought to stand in awe. I think at my volunteer job at Sophia's, when we're, I'm handing out bag lunches to some of the poor homeless people in Peoria on the south side. It really, thank goodness it's easy in that situation for me. I just think they are God. They're coming here, and then well, now especially not supposed to touch or anything, but sometimes they'll you're giving them a bag of lunch and they'll touch your hands. I just feel touched by God. So in that situation, I can do that. In other situations, I really have to, again, so much of this you have to work on. I mean, I have to work on, as far as, not understanding. And I think when a person can do that, when you take judgment out, I'll even say to myself sometimes, when I feel myself or think about it and I'm judging somebody, I'm like, Patty, no judging. Don't judge. There's a relief, there's a relief in that when you say that. And because it's you are definitely a person who does not make judgments in my mind. You are, you probably do at some level, but you typically, you just are accepting, and that's a really neat thing. So
Thank you.
you're welcome.
All right. Last question is, do you believe that when working with kids and listening to their stories, that has brought you closer to God at times?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. When I can truly listen and, like I say, I do, you mean for my social work? I didn't see that one. Oh,
Yeah,
on my
for your
vocation.
social work.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, definitely, Brianna. Yeah. 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 And I did in my private practice too, when that short time I had that with adults, but definitely the kids. You just see the struggles and, yeah, I think that definitely. And hopefully my spirituality has helped them, because sometimes that's what their emptiness for whatever reason, or their parents haven't been there for them, and you gotta try to help them. Not that in a public school you can say God too much, but you can say, well, or a certain loss, like if the kid's struggling with the loss of a loved one, so yeah.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.